goosebumps every time, yeah, 713. To the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? I'm flying. Sipping low-key. I'm sipping low-key and honest. Rider. I get those goosebumps every time.
Newcastle United.
I get those goosebumps every time. I need the hype. Throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time. Yeah, when you're not around, when you throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time.
Up the Mags. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. We are back again on Loaded Mag NUFC for another full loaded transfer special tonight, a real special one with a very special guest that we'll bring in very, very soon. But boys, how are we this evening? Me and Daz will just talk about the weather and various different things at my end. But Daz, how was it your end, mate?
All good. On fire here at the moment. It's only going to get hotter, but it could be worse. I think it's really, really, really hot in Nottingham tonight. So spare thought for anyone in Nottingham. But Christopher, how are you?
I'm all right, mate. I'm very hot. I came back from 6-a-side footy before. Very, very hot. Had my shower, but I'm still absolutely sweating. But yeah, it's been a good day. It's been a really good day. Really busy as always, but really good. And I'll be honest, boys, like tonight, I've been really, really looking forward to having peace on. So very, very excited. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, boys. Like this Elanga deal, it's taking a while. Or is it Elanga or Ekitike? I hope it's Ekitike. I hope it is. Pete, how are you doing, mate? You good?
I'm very, very good. We were just talking. I've been in the sunshine all day. Sports day, 2 days in a row.
Jeez.
Playing two-touch in between athletic races and watching dodgeballs get thrown around at people's heads. And it's been a great day. I really, really enjoyed it. And it's a nice, fun way for the students to end the year and being active, competitive, and enjoying, particularly with the weather holding up 30 degrees where I am today. Not a cloud in the sky. It's been great. But yes, hopefully everyone else in the chat, it's been great for you as well. And of course, Sophie B's in the chat. Do the good things and get those likes up right now. And of course, thank you for tuning in. So many of you, nearly 450 already. We've only been going 3 minutes. But thank you so much for taking the time to come and join us on this very special show. And we're going to bring him out. It's an absolute pleasure to bring out our guest again, Sky Sports News' own and Newcastle fan, Mr. Pete Graves. So welcome in.
Big fanboy.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Bad day for the long sleeves. It was a bad day for the long sleeve shirt today.
What's going on? Long sleeves, man.
And the cap. I'm proper fanboyed up today. Look at me. It's unbelievable. You guys all right?
All good, Pete, yeah.
Mate. We're good. And we were just saying before we went live to people in the chat that are watching, we would never, ever know that that Pete Graves is a Newcastle United fan. You just wouldn't know just by looking at him on the screen right now.
In the man cave.
Yeah, in the man cave. I've got signed Bobby picture there, signed Keegan there, and then I've got the that was Bobby's team actually signed shirt over there. I got a few more upstairs. You know what? I love Newcastle United. You know, as more than anything, basically same as you guys and everyone who's tuned into this, I'm sure. And I'm very lucky in what I do. I tend to pick up bits of memorabilia along the way. That shirt was presented to me after I was the researcher on the Alan Shearer goals documentary. I was only a kid. I had to research all the goals on that, put them into categories: right foot, left foot, headers. And at the end, ITV Tyne Tees presented me with that shirt as a thank you because I was on work experience basically. And then the Kevin one. Spoke to Kevin yesterday actually. He's in great form. Love him to bits, and obviously I work a lot with him and Bobby, who I was very close to. before he passed away, sadly. Spent a lot of time with him. I had dinner at his house with him and his wife, and my wife as well. And I still host the Bobby Robson golf weekend with his sons and stuff. So they were my two ultimates, Kevin and Bobby, but Eddie's right up there as number 3 now. It's the 3 of them now. So total fanboy, I'm afraid, guys.
Don't say it in a negative way. We're here for it, absolutely. Because we, as you just said, we are all exactly the same. But look, Pete, it's great to have you. I know we planned to do it sort of a week or so ago, so it's great to finally have one.
Apologies about that. And I just, before we get in, I just want to say I've literally only just come back to my house 5 minutes ago, and a very quick story. I drove back from London today, set off this morning. Traffic was horrendous. Car was boiling. I haven't had this on all day. I've just chucked it on now actually because it was my only clean top. So I thought I'll stick. So drove back all day, got home in plenty of time, and suddenly found my pocket. I thought, where's my wallet? I don't have my wallet. And I had quite a significant amount of cash in my wallet, right? So I thought, oh no, because we're going on holiday in a bit. So I thought got some cash out, got my euros and everything. Panicked. And I looked on my emails, and a woman had emailed me saying, I think I found your wallet at a service station. Leeming Bar service station. She'd handed it in. She said, good luck. And I thought, it's about an hour away. So I drove an hour back to Leeming Bar, phoned Pete on the way down. I said, listen, mate, I know I pulled out last week, but I'm in a bit of I need to go and get this wallet because there's cash in it. We got all the way to Leeming Bar. The staff there were absolutely amazing. Apparently this old chap had handed it in, and his wife, who's called Margaret, I'm going to give her a name drop, she'd emailed me. They'd handed it in. The staff had kept hold of it, put it in the safe. I picked up all the cash was still in it. Euros to the amount of about 250 quid's worth of euros, all still in it. My credit cards, driving license, door key. Wow. My wife was going absolutely berserk that I'd dropped it in the first place. But we hear a lot of negativity around the world. There are still some great people in the world. So I'm going to email back Margaret once I get off this. I'm going to find out what her favorite charity is. I'm going to make a donation to the charity because amazing what she did. Very honest of her, and great people in the world, which is always good to hear. So thank you, Margaret, and your husband. You are stars. Nice and the staff at Leeming Bar Services.
Absolutely. And Dan in the chat as well saying shout out to Margaret. Absolutely. You're right. With all the negativity that we hear about constantly in the world, it's nice to hear a positive story like that. And you're absolutely right. There are so many more positive stories and positive people out there than there are negative. It's just a shame we always have to read and hear about negative things on a sort of regular basis. So great stuff. You got your wallet. You're back on time for the show, which is amazing as well. And look, let's talk about some positivity. Look, the boys are back in town, and they are back in pre-season at this moment in time. I'll throw some pictures up. They're back in business. Harvey Barnes, Joe Linton, Big Sven. Hopefully a big season ahead for him. Great to see Lewis Hall back on the pitch and kicking the ball around. As we said, Big Joe is there as well. And obviously Will Asula, very, very happy. I wonder why he might be very happy running around on the training field. I'm sure we'll get into a conversation with that in just a second. And we got Joe Willock, albeit in the old training kit. This was on social media. This made me laugh, actually. I saw it earlier. This is Joe Willock before training, and this is him afterwards. And that's just what Eddie Howe does. And that was from Will Asula. Will Asula put that on social media after training. Of course it was. Yeah, of course. Agent Asula at the double as well. But look, just what are your thoughts and feelings, Pete, before we get into sort of like players and various other things around Newcastle United? What are your thoughts and feelings around pre-season and the season ahead for Newcastle United? We've got Champions League. Yeah. We're fighting on four fronts. Like, what are your sort of expectations for next season? And what do you expect to see over the course of the next 4 or 5 weeks before the season starts?
Well, look, I think it's really exciting, isn't it? First and foremost, going into the new season, Champions League. I can't wait for the draw. I think the new format's going to suit us in the Champions League, and I think we're going to do well. The Premier League gets stronger and stronger. All the teams that finished above us are all seriously strengthening, aren't they? I mean, we finished 5th. The top 4 from the champions Liverpool, Arsenal in 2nd, Man City and Chelsea, all 4 of them seem to spending loads of money to strengthen. We obviously need to try and keep up with that, and I do believe Newcastle will strengthen significantly in this window as well. I think there will be, we know Elanga's just about there. He's on Tyneside. We're actually hoping, aren't we, that something might break while we're on this podcast.
Just while you're on that, there's a few people on social media having a little bit of a mini sort of panic because there was obviously news that came out this afternoon that Morgan Gibbs-White has agreed a deal, or Forest have agreed a deal with Tottenham for Morgan Gibbs-White. Release clause has been activated. He's having a medical tomorrow. And obviously with the Elanga deal not being sort of announced at this point in time, there's some Newcastle United fans are going, "Oh, is there a problem with the deal? Is there an issue?" Like, I think everyone maybe had that thought when they saw that news break of Morgan Gibbs-White, but we're all still confident, right, that deal's done and dusted, and he's going to be a Newcastle United player.
Yeah, I've had messages today from people asking if he's failed his medical and all sorts. Like fans just go into panic mode, don't they? Look, I can understand why they worry. You look at what happened with Guehi in the January window, and they worked so hard to get him, and in the end, Palace just sold the other centre back and kept him, and it sort of scuppered our chances of getting him. So yeah, I mean, Morgan Gibbs-White, £60 million release clause. If they trigger that, it means he's open to leave. There's nothing Forest can do. My understanding is though that the deal's far too far down the line for it not to happen now. I mean, he's flown in, he's been at the training ground, he's done his medical tests. I'm sure it's just a matter of formalities now. This would be worse than Peter Rod and Wingy, wouldn't it? If it didn't now go through. I mean, he's been pictured. How on earth does Elanga run out of the City ground in the opening game of last season, having been pictured at our training ground, like hugging the staff and Newcastle United staff? So no, I think it'll happen. I think Forest will strengthen and use the money from that, and Morgan Gibbs-White to bring in some players, and I'm sure it's only a matter of time. I think traditionally, like recently, transfers have taken a little bit longer to sort of get announced. Some clubs do it really quickly. Newcastle tend to be quite methodical in what they do, but I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all, and I think that, you know, Eddie Howe seems to get criticised sometimes for the way how he's so loyal to players and loyal. He doesn't want to bring in loads, but I do quite like it. I think that his players trust him implicitly, and it's working. Whatever he's doing, it's working. And I know that it's been reported now that the 12 million offer for Longstaff's been knocked back, and some fans on social media are like, "Oh my God, why have they turned that down? 12 million quid." But if you think about it, that's not very much money for a guy who's got Premier League and Champions League experience. And everyone's talking about having a great squad, right? Players like Longstaff, you know, you can't play Bruno Tonali and Joe Linton week in, week out. Champions League, midweek games, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, Premier League. You're going to need players in that squad who you can bring in to games, you know, that you're going to have. Everyone in the squad can't be sort of like elite. You need players who are going to play matches, and you know, Sean Longstaff is a very good player for me, but he may well still go. I think he probably will. In fact, I'm very confident he will leave in this window. But I saw 12 million. I did think that was a little bit low. So I'm not surprised that they've turned it down. Actually, he's worth more than that, surely, with all of his experience.
Pete, what would you sell him for then? What's your value?
It's got to be upwards of 15 million. Got to be upwards of that.
There were reports yesterday that after it had been rejected, that's kind of what Newcastle United's minimum figure is 15 sort of million. I think me and Chris, we've always kind of had our price point of around sort of 20 million previously in like the January window when it was kind of rumored that he could potentially leave, and although he hasn't played much football now, you know, Newcastle United, I think, are right to kind of stick to that sort of.
Yeah, because it was 10 million. It was 10 million plus 2, wasn't it? So I think if you maybe, you know, they're not far away, but I can understand Newcastle digging the heels in. You know, other clubs do it, don't they? They haggle a bit. So You know, I think start at 15 million, maybe plus add-ons or something in that ballpark. They aren't far away, and I'm sure it'll happen. But I think 12 million. That feels in the current climate. That feels ridiculously low. That's what clubs in the Championship and even lower we've seen. I mean, teams in League One recently have spent more than players on that than that, haven't we? So yeah, I think it's a little bit low, but no, and I think Newcastle, you know, Newcastle will spend a significant amount of money in this window, but they'll have to get the right target, not just player wise, but character wise. And I'm not sure João Pedro was ever as close as. I mean, I know he scored 2 unbelievable goals, but I still think there was question marks over him maybe off the field. So yeah, I wasn't surprised at that they didn't really push forward with that one, to be honest.
Just sticking with Sean Longstaff for a second, you seem like sort of confident that you think he will leave, but I think most Newcastle United fans, to be fair, are of that mindset he's going to leave. Do you expect Newcastle United to go into the market to get a replacement midfielder to kind of replace that? Because we've been strong with 6 midfielders. You talked about the main 3 that tend to start week in, week out. You know, we've had the likes of Willock, Longstaff, Miley as the other 3. Do you expect that to still be the case, that Newcastle, if they do let him go, we will go and sign a centre midfielder in this window?
Probably, because he plays 3 centre mids, and you need 3 others. You've got Willock, you've got Miley. Probably want another one. I think it would make sense to get maybe a young midfielder in. I saw some people mentioning James McAtee. He's a very good player. He's more attacking minded though, but he is a very good player. But I think there's loads of clubs looking at him, and I'm not sure that we're one of them. But yeah, I wouldn't surprise me if they went for somebody, another centre midfielder, if and when Longstaff goes. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't a priority position going into this window. But yeah, if they do sell him, then with 15 million, like you say, it's pure profit that Newcastle makes, so that you can actually spread that quite wide and bring a new player in. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they brought a replacement.
Yeah, Chris, I think we'll work out the amortization on it, but when we're off air, I think is it something like that sort of 10 or 12 million fee could have potentially signed. Or could be, if the club choose to sign like a £50 million player or something.
Yeah,
like that.
It's weird. It's so weird how it works, but that's right. Yeah, because you put them on a 5-year contract. That 12 million allows you to get the deal over the line, basically. So you can spread it like that. So yeah, so 12 million through the door. That's how the whole PSR stuff sort of worked with sort of, you know. Well, I don't want to go into details of certain deals, but you can see you see how it's happened, and you can spread these players out over long contracts, and so a little bit of money coming in to your club can be used bigger going out. I mean, the whole thing's a nonsense to me. I mean, the whole PSR thing, in my opinion, it doesn't work, and you know, I just feel like it's very, very difficult for clubs outside of that sort of elite top 6 that we've seen to sort of close the gap. And clubs like Aston Villa, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest, and others, you know, you see clubs like Brighton, they're constantly having to sell their best players. What I do love is that Newcastle don't do that. They sort of hold on to theirs, and they battle to keep them. But at one point or another, they probably are going to have to, if a big offer comes in for someone, they probably are going to have to sell them. But that will allow them to completely revolutionize the squad when they do that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's an interesting one because there have been a few links with Anthony Gordon the last couple of days with Liverpool and Arsenal linked previously. Like, there's a few Newcastle fans. You know what? I don't know, that's Chris. I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a lot of fans on social media, and obviously it's only a small percentage of the fan base that are actually kind of not opposed to Anthony Gordon potentially leaving if the money's right. And with the links in the last sort of 24, 48 hours of, you know, Luis Diaz potentially leaving Liverpool and looking at potentially Gordon, do you, like, that's Chris, I'll come to you first before like Pete comes in. Like, do you see that deal potentially happening? I know we've talked about Gordon before, but do you see that kind of being revived from Liverpool's perspective if Luis Diaz does move on?
I don't know how many times I've doubled down on Gordon having a good season and backing him next season. I think he's going to up it from last season. And at the end of the season, I would have said no, definitely not happening. And the last few days, you kind of slight doubts because I don't think we know what Liverpool are going to do. We know they're going, especially if Diaz moves. They're going to have. They are going to strengthen in some positions. Obviously, with Diego Jota, as well, they're going to have to maneuver, and Nunes going out the door as well. So it's hard to predict what Liverpool are going to do, and is Gordon the one that will move for? I don't know, and then it'd have to be a massive offer for us to even consider it. But I
just
still
hope
that we still have Gordon. We want to see that triple A that we've been talking about now into next season. So not something I want to see happen.
Yeah,
I can't see it, lads. I really can't see them selling Gordon at this stage. I think, like you say, that it's very exciting. The idea of having Elanga, Isak, and Gordon as your front three, that rivals anyone in the league for me. And if they could. You're looking at. I love the look of the team. It doesn't need wholesale changes. A couple of bits of quality just added into what's already very good. But you also have to have players in that squad because there's going to be a lot of games. So you need more players, which is why, as going back to the Longstaff thing, don't just sell him for selling's sake, because if he stays, he's going to play games next season. So make sure you get the fee that Eddie and the team there decide he's worth, and stick to your guns. But no, I can't see Gordon going. I really can't. It would take a huge offer to tempt him, and I'm not sure. I mean, Liverpool have had an unbelievable window. They've added some great quality to an already very big squad. I can't imagine Arne Slot's going to want to buy loads and loads of players. And as it stands, Diaz is still a Liverpool player, isn't he? So, it would take a huge offer, I think, to tempt, particularly with the new contract that Gordon's just signed. So I just can't see it. I can't see it. And I think the left-hand side of the left wing position's sorted, isn't it? You've got Gordon and Barnes. When Gordon was out, Barnes came in and played really, really well. I'd be very surprised. Both of them are going to be needed. And I actually think Gordon's going to have a very good season this season. There was a lot with going into the last season. There'd been the Euros, the major tournament over the summer. A lot of those lads hadn't had a break, and if you actually look at it, a lot of the players from that England squad didn't have the best of seasons last season. I think with a summer under his belt, we've seen Gordon at Wimbledon and enjoying himself and having a bit of time to relax. I think we'll see the best of him next year. I'm tipping him to be up there with our players of the season next season.
Oh, that would be great. And we've all said it on the channel. We want Gordon to hit the ground running at Newcastle United next year. Didn't have the best season last season. Factors that influenced that, but we want him fit and firing. But just to end that Gordon conversation, Chris, what are you hearing in the Northwest? Anything from your blue or red mates around Anthony Gordon? Because there has been a bit of news. Obviously, Pete's given us the news that we wanted to hear from his perspective, that he thinks he's going to stay. But what are you hearing from your side, mate?
It all at the moment, it all tends to be about Alexander Isak. That's what they're all screaming and shouting about. I think they're all hoping, that the likes of Darwin Núñez, Luis Diaz make a move, and then obviously that will free up a lot of funds to be able to, go and buy another forward. It's predominantly Alexander Isak. But my thoughts on Gordon, obviously, as Pete's mentioned, signs a new contract. The only thing that worries me about Anthony Gordon is the fact that, he's a boyhood Liverpool fan, and all his family are from the area, and that's the only thing that concerns me. Because I was talking to my mate about it before, funnily enough, and I was saying to him, say it's us, we're playing for Tottenham or Wolves or Palace or whatever, and you might be really settled, you might be having a great time, and I do think Anthony Gordon's settled, and I do think he likes it in Newcastle, and I do think he loves the fan base, etc. But you always go back to, it's his boyhood club, and that's what concerns me. And I can see why his head was turned. And the thing that worries me, boys, is that, I just hope that it gets nipped in the buds, in the sense that, we don't get this every transfer window. Oh, Liverpool are going to go for Gordon. And I kind of want it all to be put to bed. That's my only concern. I mean, the good thing is obviously he's got that new contract, and it's going to take a hell of a lot of money to prize him out of Newcastle. I mean, my mates were saying, they might come in with a 60-65 million pound bid, and I was thinking, come on, boys, come on. I think you're lowballing a bit there. I think it would be at least 80 million. But transfer windows are so unpredictable, aren't they? Everybody's got the price, and let's be honest. If we were to sell someone like Anthony Gordon, it frees up a lot of funds, doesn't it? In this ridiculous PSR world that we're in, and unfortunately now as fans we all think about finances. All of us do. It's not nice, but we all do. So in the back of my mind, I'm still not fully convinced he's not going to go. But obviously, I want him to stay. And I agree with you boys. I think he will have a really good season next season. But hopefully, it's in black and white and not in red.
That's the key, in black and white, that's for sure. We've got nearly 900 in the chat. Thank you for joining us tonight. Get those likes. Sophie's already in the chat, one of our mods, saying, come on, get those likes. Let's get up to 400. A nice target there. And everyone that's tuned in, thank you for watching. Loaded Mag NUFC. Pete, we've just brushed on Isak. Let's kind of just have that conversation. In your opinion, do you think Isak leaves in the summer? It's probably a 70-30 split in the fan base that people think he's going to stay. There's that 30% that are a little bit worried that Liverpool may come in. Where is kind of your stance on Alexander Isak? Do you fully expect him to be back in the team, playing every week for Newcastle United, or do you think there will be a bid at some point from Liverpool to kind of test the waters? Well, where are you at with it?
Well, I've always been very confident that he'd stay. I mean, he's never made any noises to suggest he's unhappy. He looks happy all the time. He plays with a smile on his face. He's scoring goals in front of the best fans in the world in an incredible stadium. He's at a club which is going from strength to strength. People are saying, "Oh God, if we don't qualify for the Champions League, he might leave." We'll qualify for the Champions League. I mean, I'm sure he wants to be challenging for league titles, but I mean, listen, if Newcastle had a disastrous season next season, then we might be worried. But I just think with Champions League football, and I fully expect us to be up near the top end of the table again next year. He's obviously got close bond with a lot of his teammates. I don't lose much sleep over it. There's a lot of noise from outside, from fans from other clubs because everyone wants him. But I'm just like, why would it would take a massive offer as well. Let's make no mistake. I think that it would take a huge offer to get him away. He's still got years on his contract. You could argue, there's an argument that he's the best, most complete striker in the Premier League. So it's going to take a lot of money, huge money, to prize him out of Newcastle United. What I think will happen is I think he'll sign a new deal. I'd be confident he sign a new deal. Hope he takes the number 9 shirt. I really do, because I think
we all want him to. Do we think he will? Because he is quite wedded to that 14.
I think he'll take it. I think he needs someone like Alan Shearer to give him a call and explain to him what the shirt means. And then just do it. I think he needs to do it. And a quick word on the outgoing number 9, Callum Wilson, because I just think he's been a fantastic player for us over the years. He's been absolutely sensational. He's scored 49 goals, which I think one less than Les Ferdinand, maybe. And it puts him above so many Newcastle greats in that list of great players. At 49 goals is a good return. So I think he's been a good player for us. It was with us at a time where life was pretty tough. We had a lot of rubbish players, a lot of tough times, but he was there, and he was always a player that I used to enjoy going to watch at St James's Park. And I think the timing's right for him to leave. And I wish him well in what he does next. I'm sure he's going to pop up somewhere next season, either here or abroad. But he's still got a couple of years left in the tank, I'm sure. And I think every Newcastle fan would wish him well. And the same about Sean Longstaff if he leaves. Those two guys, when they return to St James's Park, if they were playing for another club, they both get fantastic receptions. There's no doubt about it. And I think anyone who's been a part of this squad, who leaves the club, would always get a good response, unless you had someone chucking in a transfer request and demanding to go. But I think it's been a historic journey under Eddie Howe, and all of these players that have played a part in it. deserve to be loved forevermore, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. So there's a possibility of him taking number 9. Great to hear that you think, because I think we all think the same, as there's a good chance that he could sign a new contract, Alexander Isak, this season. So that would be, I think, a sigh of relief around the fan base if that was to happen. And I have to be honest, Pete, we had Leo Kennedy on last night, and we were talking about this same conversation because we wanted to get different people's perspectives on it. And me, Daz, and Chris, we've already been mocking up potential videos of announcements of Isak's new contract. We were talking about Alan Shearer, weren't we, lads? That
handing it over. And some of your goals that you've picked out, Pete, from your research through the years that you've been playing in the background. We can add to it. Every show we add to it.
Brilliant.
Imagine that. Pete Graves is part of the announcement video. You're there kind of watching the clips go by with the goals, and then you just see in the background the number 9 being handed over, and they shake hands, and it's Shearer and Isak.
Yeah, they need to get me in that. I've been dead lucky actually, because I've been quite a big part of the.
It's our idea, Pete. Hang on, we're in it as well.
Can I? Well, why don't we just all stand in the middle? Shearer one side, Isak, and we'll pass it down the line.
Oh,
mate, on that one.
Deal.
I've been quite a big part in the. Well, not a big part, but I've been involved with the Adidas adverts a bit, which has been brilliant. They get the history of the club, and so I've been lucky enough to be on site when they've been shooting those ads and sort of helping a little bit with getting the former players over and stuff. So that's been absolutely brilliant. And just thought the one the other night with in the Irish Centre with Tino and Jonas was absolutely fantastic. I was there on the day when they filmed it, and just absolutely brilliant. They totally get it. Just thinking of like announcement videos and stuff, you just got my memory going. And the ones last year with Shearer at the Bobby. When Shearer was at the Bobby statue, I was standing yards away from him watching him do it. And I even watching them film that with Shearer just looking up and Bobby looking down, it was like watching it live, getting filmed, and sort of the camera crew were there, and I was looking at the footage, and I was like, it's just such an iconic moment, and they really grasp it. They've got guys there. They use a company called the Midnight Club who do the adverts, and they get Newcastle fans who are like very, very sort of switched on guys, but they're Toon fans as well, and they get hence why all the sort of how's the bacon jokes and all those bits that flow through it. And last year it was Jacob Murphy at the train station waving, and Nobby on the trumpet, and all those little bits is because they've put Geordies in charge of it. And I just think I think they're absolutely brilliant. Like, so so whatever happens, they got to get them to make the announcement video, I think, for Isak's new contract, without doubt.
Call us.
Yeah,
we'll be there.
Give us all a call, all 4 of us. Pete first, and then come to the Loaded Boys.
I'll call you. I'll call you guys. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about
it.
Yes, Pete.
We are mindful, unless, boys, you've got a very specific question to ask Pete on anything related to Newcastle. I'm mindful there's a lot of comments and questions in the chat. There's a couple of super chats as well that we may well come to. So, Pete, if you're happy to answer some of those questions,
sure.
Firing on, we'll throw some questions at you, mate.
Okay.
Go for it, Chris.
Okay, right, Pete. So, Tom Dixon asked you, Pete. I'm hearing we're edging closer to an agreement with James Trafford. Have you been hearing the same today, Pete? Do you think, and also as well from a personal point of view, do you think Trafford's a deal that we get done in the end?
Yeah, I do actually. I think he will sign. I think he's absolutely perfect for us. No disrespect to Burnley fans, but I think the player's desperate. I think Eddie Howe's decided he's the one that he wants long term, and I mean, he's just the perfect fit. He's great with his feet. He's a great shot stopper. He'd be great competition for Nick Pope. So yeah, I do feel it gets done. I don't think they're far away. Actually, I don't think they're far away, and it's a good deal. I think does happen, but it's taken a long time. So how long will Newcastle wait is the question. And Burnley. It's obviously the fact they've been promoted into the Premier League themselves kind of makes it a harder deal to do. If they were still in the Championship, I'm sure the deal would have been done already. But I do think ultimately it gets done, because I think once a player decides they want to move, then it gets very, very difficult for the selling club. So yeah, I do think it'll happen. Hopefully sooner rather than later, because the longer it goes on, Newcastle might just decide, you know what, we'll start looking elsewhere. But having said that, as soon as it's left my mouth, Eddie, the way Eddie is, when he gets a target in mind, he tends to stick with that target. He decides once he makes his mind up on someone, he tends to keep going and going until he gets his man. So we've seen that before, haven't we? We've seen it with Elanga. He'd gone in for him before. He's about to sign him now. I've seen that Hugo Ekitike's name is back. I've seen Marc Guehi's name is back. When Eddie decides he wants a player, he almost, once he pictures him in that black and white shirt, he almost can't get over it. So, he keeps pounding them until he finally signs them. So yeah, it's never a surprise to me. When I see a name come up that we've tried to sign before, you can usually think there's probably something in it.
Yeah, just because you mentioned him, I'll jump in here, lads. I apologise. With Hugo Ekitike, do you think there's any like realistic chance of that one kind of materialising? A lot of people have talked about. Well, a lot of fans have reacted to Fabrizio Romano's link yesterday from Hugo Ekitike, saying that we have interest in him. But there's also been that kind of caveat with regards to his potential transfer fee. Does that maybe scupper a chance of maybe getting him? Or
I can't see it somehow this window. I just can't see it. Not to say it won't happen, because things happen sometimes that you can't see. But I'm not surprised that there's an interest. The interest we scouted him extensively, so. If he was the one they went for before Isak, and they missed out on him, so they went for Isak after. So they clearly there's a big respect for the player. I see people saying, "Oh, well, if they sign him, then it means that Isak's going and stuff like that." But I don't think that either. But I think you would love to have them both in the squad. If someone did come in with a ridiculous offer for Isak, saying pie in the sky, Real Madrid came in and just whacked £150 million bid in, and Newcastle decided to do it, then I think Ekitike would be they'd be calling in within seconds of that offer coming in. But yeah, I just can't see it. I can't see them having them both in the squad somehow, because it would be very difficult to rotate those two, wouldn't it? I mean, Ekitike would, wherever he goes, he's going to want to start. And I think they like Liam Delap as well, but this was the thing. Liam Delap sort of wanted to go somewhere he could start, I believe, which is amazing that he went to a club that's got like 9,000 players. But yeah,
no sense.
But I think he probably would have known as well that, like, at Newcastle as a striker, you're going to be second fiddle to Alexander Isak, and Ekitike would know that as well, I think.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say with Ekitike, not that this is a reason that we could actually get him, but he was dovetailing with Mamouche at Frankfurt before Mamouche moved to Man City, and they dovetailed really well. Sometimes playing together, sometimes playing individually. So it's not to say that it can't happen. It can happen. He's done it before. Whether we'd want to do it again is probably the £62 million question, because that's rumoured to be the fee. Because I think they were talking at 70-80 million euros or something like that is potential fee, which works obviously pounds a little bit cheaper. So that would be the big question of whether we'd be happy doing that. But so you're absolutely more than a valid point there. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're fine, mate. Do you know what? I should have gone to this one first, actually, because this was our super chat, the voice troll. Thank you very much, the voice troll, for the super chat, mate. Much appreciated. And I know this is quite a broad question, Pete, I do appreciate, but he's asking, a creative player, we need to open up the low block. Now, you mentioned James McAtee. Would he be the type of player you'd be looking at? And he also said a little bit later on as well, Pete, we need a creative wizard. Like I mentioned the other night, is Harvey Elliott that guy? Do you think maybe he's someone that you'd be interested in?
I would be. James McAtee, Harvey Elliott, definitely. And then the Eddie Howe type of players as well. England under 21s are European champions again. Look at the success that Gordon had, signing off the back of starring in that tournament. So yeah, I think players like that would definitely fit the mold. Creative. Bruno's that's certainly the man for me. He's unbelievably creative, isn't he? I love him to bits. But I think, yeah, I think we need. So Eddie's done really well with young English players. I mean, if we did sign Trafford and you had Trafford in goal and you got Livramento right back, Hall left back. I mean, if you chuck Guehi into that as well, you're going to have 4 of the 5 of England's future back 5, aren't you? You're going to have 4 of them, because that's what England's back 5 are going to look like, in the next, with maybe the World Cup after this one. So yeah, no, I mean, I'm a bit like Eddie. I do like signing. I love it when we sign young English players with loads of potential. I think because they're the right deals to do for so many reasons. These guys hold their value increases. They become players that if you do ever sell them, you're going to get your money back in spades, which you can then reinvest in the squad. So yeah, love Elliott at Liverpool, love McAtee at Man City, and I think it's quite clever to Eddie's quite good at picking players away from sort of the so-called big 6 as well, and sort of improving them, and we've seen that with Hall, haven't we? And Livramento, of course, was previously Chelsea. Elanga, previously Manchester United. It's amazing how many brilliant players these clubs have, and just they let them go. So yeah, no, I take the point on having a player that can unlock the door. For me, that person at the moment is Bruno, but would it be good to have another one? Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And Pete, if you go on X much, which I believe you do, there's always loads of plane spotters. Some people like planes, some people don't like planes. Yes. But you'll know that there was a lot of rumours yesterday that there was a plane in the northeast, and it turned out it was Simon Adingra. I think it was Keith Darley. The Simon Adingra. But Stevie Lee says, is there any truth in the fact that people were saying that Guehi's agents were on Tyneside yesterday? Have you heard that, or do you believe that we're deep in discussion with Crystal Palace and Marc Guehi?
I haven't heard that, but I think the big clue in the fact that Eddie wanted him so badly in January, he's not going to, like we've talked about it before, he's not going to stop wanting him now. So I'm sure he'd still love to get him. I mean, I get excited by the links with we've been linked with a couple of lads abroad as well, an Argentinian centre back and the young Italian lads, Scalvini is it. So I get excited by those links, but I do believe if you can get someone who's Premier League ready and in England international, if you could get Guehi, I would have him over the other 2 personally. I know every fan will have a different opinion on that, and some people say, "No, he didn't have a great season last season," but his character is unbelievable, right? Everyone who you speak to about Marc Guehi, he just says he is an unbelievable guy. He didn't throw his toys out the pram in January when we desperately tried to sign him to Palace. He stayed loyal, kept quiet, kept his head down. I had people telling me he was desperate to move to Newcastle, but the deal didn't happen and he didn't kick off. So I think if you could get him, he is the kind of character that would thrive at Newcastle, and Newcastle would be lucky to have him. So he'd be right up there. If they could sign him, I'd be over the moon. I might even get his name on the back of this shirt.
Would you? It was rumored that Palace kind of want around between 45 and 50 million for him. Do you think that is something that Newcastle United would pay to get him through the door? Obviously, they've got it's kind of a bit of a moving parts here to find the finances to make them fit. But do you think Newcastle
I would pay it? I would pay that. I would pay that. Yeah, I would pay that. And you got Elanga for if you get Elanga for 52 plus 3 in add-ons. If you could get Guehi for around 45, then you could add Trafford in for 30 odd. That for me looks like an incredible window. It really does. And I think Eddie would have got 3 of his top choices there. And they're talking about a striker. I think I was on this podcast before saying about Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I actually think he'd be a decent fit as someone who could play second fiddle. Although I know there's reports that I read somewhere they're not interested, but I think they would be. Again, I think they've had an interest in him before. And for me, you've got Sula there who is a huge fan favourite, and I love him when he comes on. He looks like he's going to make something happen. I'm not convinced he's an out-and-out striker. I'd love to see him given a go on one of the flanks as well. But someone like Dominic Calvert-Lewin to come on for your last 15, 20 minutes when Isak's maybe needs a break, I think he'd be perfect. I actually do. I think he's a very good footballer. But Everton have relied on him for such a long time to be their out and out number 9, play week in, week out. And I just don't. I think if you used him in the same way that we used Wilson, I think he'd be good. But we'll see. And he's a free transfer as well, which makes it easy when you're looking at PSR reasons. We're talking about if they want to bring in players like Guehi, Trafford, Elanga, then you're going to have to be quite creative in the other positions that you fill. So that would be for me. That would be a dream window if you could get sort of maybe those 4.
I think Don Leonard comes up with a really he's come up with a plausible excuse as to why the Anthony Elanga deal hasn't yet been announced, and I like it. Don Leonard says he's going to announce Elanga and new Isak contract and the 9 and 14 swap over tomorrow. And I like the Swedish connection as well. There's no reason to suggest why that might not happen. But I quite
Don,
like that.
I tell you what, Don, if you are right, you are the Don. You are the Don. That is a great prediction, mate.
It's a great shout.
Just in fact, Don, if you just put that out on social media and say, just pretend you're an ITK, say you've heard this is happening.
Yeah.
People will go wild for that. And then tomorrow you can either, if it doesn't happen, you can either just delete it like other ITKs do and hope you get away with it, or it'll get retweeted for loads and all of a sudden you'll have 1 million followers on X. Which is, X used to be great, didn't it? Do you remember back in the day? It's not good anymore, is it? I turn it back off. But don't ever scroll. You can't scroll on X now, can you? It's just all negativity. I go on and I search through 4 or 5 different accounts in the search thing, but I never sit there scrolling through like I used to. It's just you're miserable after about 10 minutes, aren't you? So not like it used to be, I would say. No offense, Elon.
We should have changed the name. It became a hard scroll. Absolutely,
you're right, mate. You're right.
Definitely.
Good. Well, we got a really good one here as well from James Walbridge, who says, "Evening, everyone. Does Pete think the club could commit more money to spend than expected this summer on the premise that they expect to sell Alexander Isak next summer?"
Well, you do plan in cycles. So they could sign. Now we talk about Ekitike. They could sign Ekitike, sort of always knowing that there's a gentleman's agreement that they'd sell Isak in the summer. It's a possibility. They certainly. It depends what the player's saying, what he's intimating. If he might be saying, "Look, I love it here, but if we don't qualify for the Champions League again, or if we haven't, you don't know what's being said." And it won't be him saying it either. It'll be his representatives. Alex will be turning up every day, week in, week out, training hard, working hard. That's the kind of character he is. And but it's the representatives that'll be doing a lot of the talking. And it's a good point. I think that does happen. I think people do sort of often say, "Look, please give us 1 more year and we'll sell you next summer." And if they do know that they're going to do that, then yes, it would allow them to spend more this window. But then, of course, the gamble you have is that then, say, for example, I don't think this would happen, but say Isak had an awful season last season, scores like 7 goals, can't hit a barn door, all of a sudden his value goes like that. I mean, none of us can see that happening, but that's the gamble you take, isn't it? And sometimes, like Isak's figure now that you could get for him is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Who knows what it'll be come the end of the season?
Yeah, very true, mate. True. Very true. Dazzler, you wanted to come in with a question, mate?
Yeah, just maybe a more direct question, Pete. And just look, there's been a talk of potentially Newcastle looking towards Europe as well, or there was talk of maybe 2 names out there in Europe that they might be looking at. Have you heard anything in your circles, or anything kind of names that haven't been kind of out there already? Or I know that guys, you like to kind of fact check it a few times before you can actually say anything, but anything's bubbling away that you want to share?
No.
Move on to the next question.
What you're telling us, there is something bubbling away. That's what you're telling us right now.
We'll wear you down, Pete, now, by the way.
Well, when you got a scout as good as Steve Nixon, with all of his, I'm sorry I keep rubbing my nose. By the way, my hay fever is shocking. Hay fever shocking. When you've got a scout as good as Steve Nixon is, with all of his with all of his contacts abroad, yes, there will be players on the radar. We've seen it already with the young Spanish lad who's come in, and is going back out on loan, but he looked like a great player. I watched him a couple of times in the under-21s. It looks like a great acquisition. As fans, we get frustrated when we're not adding loads and loads of players to the first team squad, but the kids coming through are unreal now. I mean, the work that's gone on behind the scenes in the academy, the likes of Steve Harper, honestly, some of those young players, if you look now like England under 16s and stuff, there's 4 or 5 Newcastle players in the squad. The young players, I'm going further. I'm not talking about the under 23s. I'm going like right down in the academy. They're signing them from everywhere now. Back in the day, that whole squad would have been local lads, which is great for lads in Newcastle, yeah, sure. But now they're building. They're picking the best players they're signing them from Luton, from Charlton, from all these clubs, academies.
Galway,
building the future.
2 from Galway, Pete.
Galway, there you go. There you go. Yeah. And they picked up a young lad from Rangers, didn't they? This window. I love what they're doing in the academy, and I think the future of the club is so bright. It's unreal. I mean, the present is as well. I mean, we're in the Champions League. We just won a cup, first time in any of our lifetimes. The academy is absolutely sorted. We've got a brilliant first team squad full of great players. We're going to add a bit of quality to that. So we've got, for me, the best manager, the best English manager by an absolute mile. Eddie Howe's become the first manager to win a trophy for Newcastle domestically for 70 years. Can he be the first English manager to win the Premier League? I really hope he can, because it's never been done. And I'd love him to be the person that does it. And you know what, lads, we're not that far away. We're not that far away. We aren't. There would have been a time when we think you're miles away. We're not that far away from putting a run together, having a little bit of a nibble at it. I think, a couple more windows away. We keep getting better and better. For me, the squad gets stronger and stronger, and it's such an exciting time to be a Newcastle fan. It's unreal, and as you can see, I'm loving every second of it.
Absolutely.
I could never tell, Pete. I couldn't tell.
If you think about what we're doing, we're having record revenue growth year upon year as a club. That's all the stuff outside of what we see on the pitch. But on the pitch, we've had massive growth. We've got 4th, 7th, and 5th in the last 3 seasons. We are going absolutely in the right direction because we're being consistent in terms of what we're doing, and we're doing it fighting against teams that are earning double the amount of revenue that we are, that have been able to spend a lot more money on fees and wages the way we are, and it's massive credit for Eddie Howe to be able to do that. But we have had a few questions out there on social media and a few people in the chat over the weeks and months about the fact that Newcastle aren't doing enough in terms of sponsorships and revenues. And, you talk about the training ground sponsors or the stadium, for example. Do you kind of share any sort of concerns about that sort of stuff, in particular with the training ground and the stadium? Or do you think there's something bubbling in the background, or there's a plan in place that we're kind of maybe just not aware of? Because there are a few people saying that sort of in the background. Fans,
yeah, I don't have any concerns. No, I think that the very nature of sport now on social media is that we all, and I'm the same, I've become experts at things we're not experts in, don't we? We all, it's why have they not done this? Why have not? There will be reasons. They've got unbelievable people at the club doing in those roles. So, and again, people that they've plucked from massive football clubs. I think you see the selling of the way Chelsea sold their women's team, and then Aston Villa have just done it, and people are saying, why didn't Newcastle do that as well? But there'll be a reason, I guess. There'll be a reason, and it's do you want to really go down that road? I mean, everyone's always criticizing Chelsea and this sort of what they see as underhand tactics. So I don't know why. Yeah, and this is me just speculating, but maybe it's not something. Maybe Newcastle, who put so much time and effort and love into the women's team, maybe they didn't want to sell them. It's like it could be as simple as that. And it's just to get themselves out of a PSR hole. Oh, we'll just sell the women's team. It's a bit, I don't know. I don't know how well it sits with me. I mean, they might do it, But if the powers that be decide not to go down that route, then I'd support them in that. I think there will be news on it, on what the plans are with the stadium fairly soon. I'm sure that won't be far away. But I just think there's a lot of moving parts at Newcastle at the minute. You look at Darren Eales, bless him, not very well, and so he's having to step away. Paul Mitchell's decided the time is right to move away. So there's been a lot of disruption, really, sort of higher up the sort of chain at Newcastle. They're little things that probably need to get sorted, and it would probably feel right that whoever is coming in, maybe they're going to announce the stadium or expansion or whatever it is they decide to go down. But I think considering there's been so much upheaval at board level, the fact the club's still sort of buying players and still sort of progressing, I think they deserve a bit of credit. It just things will get sorted. Just as football fans, we're not very patient. We want everything. We want everything sort of done now. In fact, we want it done yesterday, but it's just not always the case. Things take time.
We're nothing but patient as Newcastle fans.
Yeah, we've got to be patient, and we've been patient enough, haven't we? So we can just be a little bit more patient. A little bit.
I've been telling Dad for the last 3 weeks to be patient because he's been like, "Now, I want it all right now."
So I got a T-shirt saying "Don't panic," but Elanga came too soon.
Yeah.
No, we're all the same. We're all the same. And as a fan, I sometimes think, I wish they could just get this sorted. But we've waited 70 years for a domestic trophy. We can wait another 6 months for an announcement on this, that, and the other.
Yeah. Pete, I've got 3 more quick questions for you, mate. And the last one's a very important one. It's the one that we're all really looking forward to hearing the answer from before. But a couple of random ones here. Stephen Fairbairn asks you, is that a Paul Gray Slipknot tribute bass next to you?
No, it's not. It's actually an ESP guitar. This, which if Stephen knows his rock, a lot of the rock bands use those. So Metallica use them, for example. It's just a guitar I've had since I was a kid. It's quite rare. It is it's a replica of someone's, but if you search up ESP Skull and Snakes guitar, Stephen, you'll see that someone used it. I actually can't remember who it was. But it's my little guitar pride and joy. I did think about selling it because one time, and I got it all done up and stuff. The guitar doctor in Newcastle, he lives up in Wallsend Way, and I got it all done up. I was going to sell it to make a few quid. We were, I can't remember, one summer we needed a few quid. So I was like, I'll sell my guitar. I've had it since I was a little lad. And I think it's worth a couple of quid now. So I nearly sold it. But the guitar doctor said, don't sell it. You got to keep it. And so I was like, yeah, you know what, right? I'm not doing it. Yeah, I'll stay on beans on toast. I'll stay on beans on toast till summer. I'm not going to sell it.
You're nearly selling it this evening, Pete, after losing that wallet.
Yeah.
I know, yeah. I know, mate. I know. No, it's my pride and joy, that thing. Didn't sell it. It's not worth like 100 grand or anything like that. I say it's only worth a couple hundred quid, but yeah, no.
Andy Ford asks you, Pete, can you tell us where the little jingle comes from at the start of your Transfer Show podcast?
Ooh. No idea. I think it's just a generic jingle, I think. Andy, don't know. I'm not the one to ask. I literally show up, do the presenting, and leg it before all the John and Chessie and all the clever people at Sky. They put all the jingles in and edit it together, and also cut loads of me out because I just waffle on, like telling stories like when I lost my wallet and stuff like that. There's loads of that get cut, and I think, I've just told this brilliant story, and then I put the podcast on. I'm like, they cut it out. And it's like every week the same thing happens.
That adds to it. It makes the podcast like just that little bit more like sort of authentic, if that makes sense. But no, it's good. You got a really nice blend.
It was nice this week to be able to talk about Newcastle on the podcast because and the lads, Dharmesh and Sam, said, what are you talking about? You talk about them every week anyway. But I was like, no, I've genuinely got something to talk about. Usually it's been like, Newcastle once again, I haven't signed anyone. I'm sort of getting frustrated, but it was nice to have, it's been a good week, hasn't it? I think everyone when the Elanga deal gets announced, everyone will relax a little bit more. If as Don said, before. If they could announce that and a new Isak contract, that would just be absolutely brilliant, wouldn't it? But yeah, we'll see. But I think we need one over the line, don't we, to relax a little bit, and then we'll all start panicking again in a couple of days why we haven't signed anyone else.
Yeah. I mean, it would be mind blowing, wouldn't it, if they did the Elanga video and it goes on for 2 or 3 minutes, and then at the end he's holding the number 14 shirt, and everyone's like, and then he just announced the Isak deal.
That would be brilliant. That would be brilliant. I'd be well into that. I'd be contacting Don. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And then last question, Pete, and because I'm very conscious of your time, Kieran Byrne asks, and it's a really good question. How many players do you think we will sign this window?
First team players, 4 or 5.
Yeah,
4 or 5. Sales dependent as well. Like we say, I think we would have added 4, and I think if a couple of others are sold, maybe Longstaff, maybe they will bring in another midfielder. So I'm going to go 4/5.
I'm going to just add in there. Do you think who do you think is most likely to leave from the current squad? If you had to get sort of, if not if you had to, but if 3 or 4 had to leave this summer to supplement the spending for Newcastle United, who do you think's most likely to leave?
I think obviously the 2. You'd think maybe the 2 goalkeepers, as in Blacko and Dubravka. Maybe there would be 2 that you could, particularly if you're going to bring in Trafford. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they went. I don't know whether Dubravka's did a great job for his last season. I just feel like maybe he deserves to go and be number 1 somewhere. He could actually be a number 1 for a team in the Premier League, couldn't he? So, so maybe the 2 keepers. They do have plenty of them, don't they? And they're trying to add another one. Longstaff would make sense as well. As much as I love him to pieces, and I think he's been a great servant for us. It would make sense for him from his point of view and from the clubs, I suppose. I think he's coming into his last year, isn't he? I think if they could Leeds probably aren't very far away. I think if Leeds came back with 15 million, I think that you might see that deal happen. Who else?
Aaron Robson mentioned the likes of Willock and potentially Targett as well. Matt Targett, he was pictured in. We didn't actually mention this. We didn't actually say this, but when we were talking about Elanga, there is a picture going around on social media with Elanga. Looks like he's meeting some of the players, and you can see Matt Targett in the on the right hand side of the picture there. We don't know whether that's a true picture or doctored, but it seems to be, from most people's perspectives, genuine, which would make you aware that deal is just waiting to be officially announced. But do you see Targett and Willock?
I wasn't convinced by that picture. Like, was anyone else convinced by that picture? I'm not sure.
Show it again, Pete.
Does he not look like he's floating? I can't work it out.
He's doing the moonwalk.
It doesn't seem quite right. But it is the new.
Pete Davies got the same high platform shoes you have.
Guys, you don't need to wear high platform shoes when you're over 6 foot. So maybe
I suppose you'd ask the question: if it's not real, who on earth has spent the time making that?
Yeah, and Pete as well. The first thing I was going to say, if you were going to doctor a photo, would they be the players that you would choose?
The other thing is as well. I mean, we know he's been at the training ground anyway, so it's like we've already got that proof. That doesn't prove. So even if that is real, we knew we've seen footage of him walking into the training ground. So it doesn't really take us anywhere where we've not been already. It's like, we know he went inside. So it doesn't really help. It doesn't help.
Mythbusters.
If it is fake, someone spent hours doing something that doesn't help anybody.
No.
But just lastly, Willock, Targett, do you think any of them is got any truth of potentially moving on? Because Willock was linked with Fulham early on in just after the season.
He's a good footballer. He was another one I put in the sort of a bit like Gordon. Didn't have the best season last season, but he's a handy player. I think he would command a decent transfer fee. I think Willock, wouldn't he? You'd be looking for upwards of 20 million. all of these players you mentioned, Targett, Willock, we talk about Longstaff, they could be sold if the right offer comes in. The right offer, and so in Newcastle have an idea of value in the back of their minds, and so it's possible if the right offer comes in, they could sell him. But don't just sell for sales' sake. We've got a really strong squad. What's that? Is that 400 likes? Well done.
400 likes.
Yeah.
That's right. Well done, Tradders.
Great stuff.
Fantastic. I was when we were getting close to 400, I was like trying to work out how to like it myself. To
Good lad. Just make sure you hit that subscribe as well, Pete.
I will. If I'm not subscribed already, I feel bad now.
No, I think you might actually be. I think you
must be. You must be.
Fan of the show, man. Fan of the show.
Well, Pete, we're out of time. We appreciate the fact that you've rushed all the way back to come on with this straight away. So we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for coming and joining us tonight. We'd love to have you back later on down the line, maybe towards the end of the window, and have maybe.
Yeah, well, I did say I'd come on when we signed a player. We thought that was going to be tonight, didn't we? But it's not still happened. So I owe you another one. And I'll just say quickly, a lot of people ask me all the time about my book Here to Compete. If I'm going to do an updated version now that we've won the cup, I think I might have some news on that soon. So look at maybe extending the book a bit. So a lot of people asking me if I'm going to do that now they won the cup. Might do that. So if that happens, I'll come back on and talk about it. So but great to see you guys. Appreciate it. Thanks to everyone who watched. It's always a pleasure. And hopefully next time I come on, we'll have signed a couple of players.
Yes.
Fingers crossed.
Well, hopefully we sign the 5 that you have, kind of 4 or 5 that you predicted.
Yeah, I promised 5 players. That's the headline. Pete Graves says promises 5 players to the fans.
Hang on. Breaking news. Who's this? Yay!
It's your mate. Come and join this.
Hello, Peter.
You all right, mate?
Oh, mate. Pete, I'm so sorry, mate. I've just replied to you saying I couldn't make it on, and then I went onto the YouTube and seen that it's still live, and I just thought, you know what? I've got to give Pete some grief for wearing a hat on your thing.
Look at this. I'm in full kit, mate. I'm full kit.
Oh, my God.
He's a fanboy tonight, Doms.
My God. How are you guys? All right?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, really good.
Have you got a word in yet with Pete on there?
You know what? I was just telling them that I always tell these because I told the story. I basically left my wallet at a service station with quite a lot of cash in it, a load of euros. Drove back an hour, got it, and all the money was still in it. It had been handed in by a very honest person. But I was telling them on the podcast, I always tell these stories and think, oh, that was a mint story, that. And then I listen to the podcast, it's been cut out.
Oh, no.
They always cut my stories out, don't they?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No hand in that, Dharmesh.
No. But we were saying how great of a podcast there.
Doms is the one I mean, getting asked about transfers. You know, what's happening with Elanga, Doms? Is it done yet or what? I mean, Dharmesh Sheth is, for me, you can forget your Fabrizios, your Ornsteins. This guy's the guy, right? This guy is the guy. Bear in mind, work in an industry where it's guy. We're not out. Trust me, he knows what's happening, but he can't always put stuff out that he knows. He knows more stuff than he puts out. So, what's happening with Elanga, Doms?
I don't know. I've been playing golf all day, Pete.
Get in.
Are you confident that it's going to be announced and done and dusted at some point? Because
it's a case of when it's going to get announced, because everything's done. The medical's done. The fee's been agreed. I think it's 52 plus 3.
Yeah.
Man United have got like a keen eye on what's happening as well, because they are making a bit of money on this. I think it's between 15 and 20% on the profit that Forest have made on the deal. So if Forest end up getting 55, then that's going to be great news for Newcastle, I think, because he would have fulfilled all of his performance-related conditions, number one, which is a good thing. So he will have done well and Newcastle will have done well. But that would represent a £40 million profit for Forest, which I think if if it's between 15 and 20%, then you're looking at between £7 and £8 million that goes to United. So, I mean, listen, I know it's one of these things. I know fans are always, but when is this happening? We've heard the medical's done. Sometimes there's all these other bits that we don't know about, like all the legalities of a contract. There's such minutiae details that are involved in contracts that we've had them on our transfer show. This Daniel G is a quite well-renowned sports lawyer, and some of the detail he was going into, you can understand why some deals which you think are done take a little while to announce. And also Newcastle might be planning something special for the announcement video. So
yeah,
that could be, and it's all about timing as well, isn't it? So are they going to, what is it now? 9:15 on a Thursday night? Probably not the ideal time to announce a deal. And they'll probably just drop it now,
I think they've done them in the morning. Yeah, I think they tend to do them in the morning, but who knows? There's been some late ones. I remember waking up one morning, they'd signed Sylvain Marva. I'd never heard of him. But,
Does anyone remember the window closed and it was like 3 a.m. and we'd re-signed Olivier Bernard? Years ago. That was like, I woke up the next day and I was like, hey, what we signed here? And he's Olivier Bernard had re-signed for the club. But I'm going to ask you: is there anybody sort of out there that Newcastle are looking at? We had the Hugo Ekitike from Fabrizio Romano yesterday. Is there anyone that Newcastle United fans can get excited about other than the Elanga deal that's about to be announced? In your opinion,
are you asking me?
Yeah,
I think. I mean, look, I don't want to fob you off with a stupid answer. I think Pete's the guy to answer this because he's got his ear to the ground much more than I have when it comes to Newcastle. There'll be some deals that I might know are happening with regard to Newcastle if some of the contacts that I'm dealing with are doing a deal to go to Newcastle. The contacts that I've been speaking to in the last couple of days, they don't seem to be doing a deal to Newcastle. That's not to say that they're not going to be signing any more players, which I'm sure they will be. But I'm trying to think of the priority positions that they were looking at. Pete, you've mentioned this quite a lot on our podcast as well.
Trafford's one that Trafford is competition for Pope. As I mentioned, they want a centre back. They're linked with a couple of abroad, but obviously Marc Guehi as well is someone that they've liked for a while. So would they try and go back in for him potentially? They got as high as, I think they nearly got 70 million, didn't they, in January, Doms? So would they go back in now that he's got less on his contract? And then a backup striker, as the guy's just saying here. So there's been a link with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's
that's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, we shall see. I'd have to go because I'm in my family. Go on.
I don't know what you guys have been saying about him, but if such a big if, I know, but if he stays fit.
Yeah, he's class.
Just if Dominic Calvert, I know it's such a big if, but if he was to stay fit, second striker to Isak.
Yeah,
I mean, you could do a lot worse than that.
I agree.
I think the selling point on that is more the fee than anything else. The fact that there is no fee and that you become free. I think that's the biggest selling point that we could have on that.
If you used him, as I said before, Doms, if they use him the same way they used Wilson, sort of come on for the last 15-20 minutes when Isak's burnt out, then he's perfect. He's perfect.
He's just the last point, because I know you guys are kind of stuck for time, but the Dominic Calvert-Lewin is like an out-and-out striker, so it would be a shift in what we were originally looking at, because João Pedro isn't that out-and-out striker. He is the one that can play in number 10, can play out wide, can do a little bit up front. He is that versatile player. So, it would be a change in the shift in focus, maybe from Eddie Howe to go, right, we're going to go for an out-and-out striker. So we were talking about this the other day. We said it's going to be really interesting to see actually what Eddie Howe does in this. Does he look for a João Pedro alternative? Which is why I think someone like a McAtee was brought up. He's not a guy that can play up front, but he's the guy that can play in between the forwards and the midfields as a bit of a creative option. Or do we go for an out-and-out striker, someone that can be a like for like? It is going to be an interesting one, because it's not set in stone where we're going to go in this window, and it's a little bit exciting because we don't know what to expect. But
I think it's going to be really interesting. Some of the players that are potentially available as well. You talked about Calvert-Lewin. There's lots of talk now, not necessarily with Newcastle, but Johan Wissa at Brentford. He's only got a year left on his contract. Admittedly, he's going to be 29 in September. But what kind of deal you could do for someone like that? And I'm just keeping an eye on what's happening at Tottenham just now, because Kudus and Morgan Gibbs-White look nailed on now that they're going to join. Are there going to be some players who are going to be surplus there? And I mean, you look at where does James Maddison play now? Is what I'm asking.
Don't do that to me.
That was mentioned in the chat earlier, Dharmesh. There was a lot of people in the chat saying,
when I was driving home, someone mentioned it on the radio, and I was like, gosh, you're not going to spend 60 million quid if he's not starting.
What about Kulusevski, Doms? Because I rate Kulusevski. I think he has the odd injury here and there. He is, not injury prone, but he does pick up an injury now and again. But as a player, he's so talented. And you think to yourself, like, if they're adding certain players, like Kulusevski has been sort of playing a little bit on the right wing, but mostly sort of in that number 10 role last season. If they're bringing Morgan Gibbs-White that plays that same way, in that same position, is there going to be a spot for him? Could there be a potential that he leaves? For me, that's an interesting one there.
I think it's going to be a lot of these clubs are now starting to do their business, and it's not so much what I'm looking at is who they're buying, but who is going to be left disappointed because of these players coming in. You're looking at Chelsea. I mean, they constantly seem to be bringing in a stream of players. There are going to be so many players that they are going to be looking to sell. Nicholas Jackson is definitely one to look out for now. I can't see how Nicholas Jackson starts for Chelsea now. I just can't see it. João Pedro and Liam Delap in that squad. What does Nicholas Jackson do? He could be one that is going to could become available in this window as well. So among a number of other players at Chelsea.
Boys, we'll stop there because I know Pete needs to go and Dobbs.
I haven't seen my family since 3 days ago, so I better go and say some good nights to the kids and stuff like that. I'm so sorry, but Dharmesh, lovely to see you, my friend. See you soon.
Always good. I only see you on a screen these days, so
I know, man. I know. See you soon.
Next pod coming up soon.
Yeah, we'll be back. Ours. When's ours?
Yours.
Wednesday,
I think.
Okay. Do on a Wednesday, shall we? I'll be in Spain, but we'll do one, shall we?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, get in.
Everyone, Newcastle fans in the chat tonight, and look out for that next one coming next week very soon. Dharmesh Sheth, Pete Graves, absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much.
Boys.
Sky Sports royalties, it was said in the chat. Have a great evening, guys. We'll let you go as we wrap up the show.
Thanks so much, lads. Thank you.
Bye-bye, boys.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Brilliant to have those guys on the show. Thank you so much to Pete for spending his time. As he said, he's been traveling back and then had to go back and then gone back again to be able to come on to us tonight. So, it's not easy getting these guests on for you to talk all things Newcastle United, but it just goes to show what they go through to take the time to come on to our channel, for example, and have these conversations. It's not easy. So massive thanks to those guys for taking the time for joining us. And thank you all as well in the chat. We had 1,000 watching tonight, which is outstanding for the channel and for every one of you. And the questions, the comments, the engagement. This is why we love doing what we love doing on Loaded Mag NUFC. So thank you very, very much. If you haven't clicked the like, Sophie's asking for those likes to keep coming as we're wrapping up the show. But yeah, boys, we're I think we're done and dusted for tonight.
We are done and dusted. 5 in a row, as Chris highlighted earlier. 5 shows in a row. We might take a little break. You never know.
What a
we
way
could be
to
back
end, though.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
who knows?
What a way to end the little one. That was an absolutely brilliant show. Oh, we just had a super chat in. Gene Esther, thank you so much, mate. Only Loaded Mag could get so many top guests on. Legend.
Thank you.
Cheers, Gene Esther.
Thank you, Gene Esther.
Legend. Appreciate that. And I think you'll be back. You'll be back on sooner than you think. I think Newcastle United are going to get to work. Elanga coming soon. Trafford. Surprise, maybe. You know what? Hopefully. What Dharmesh said about Spurs and signing all these players, I think that's quite an interesting one. We talked about Kulusevski.
Do you know what, Pete? Mate, I didn't
Swedish
factor
Mafia?
in. Yeah, Swedish Mafia. Yeah, Swedish House Mafia. I didn't think. Well, we've spoken about it briefly, haven't we? About the fact that purchases will influence sales. So when clubs are bringing these players in, there's potential then for players to leave. And Spurs now, you've got to. Dharmesh is right. You've got to keep your eye on Spurs because people in the chat have been saying Maddison. Kulusevski got brought up as well. Kulusevski is a brilliant player, absolutely brilliant player, and yeah, I'm all for the Swedes. I'm all for them.
Swedes and Brazilians, bring it on.
Yeah,
Great mix.
Yeah,
right. Wow. That is it. We'll try going with this outro. Hopefully it works. Hopefully it's the right music. See you in the next one.
Take care.